The sun was barely up, the sky just beginning to turn a soft pink, when I first heard her voice, sharp, condescending, and way too sure of herself. "That structure has to go, and you will pay a $10,000 fine for erecting it without approval, Mr. Miller." I froze, my hand still holding my coffee mug, its warmth fading as I stared at the woman standing on my lawn like she owned it. This was Karen, the president of the Oakwood Preserve Homeowners Association, the kind of person who would have made a dictatorship look reasonable. The woman was a walking embodiment of suburban power, her oversized frame squeezed into brightly colored pantsuits that screamed authority, her face locked in a permanent mask of self-righteous indignation. She wasn't alone, of course. Two of her cronies flanked her, Carol, the tight-lipped woman who always looked like she had a stick up her ass, and Bob, the silent, hulking figure who had the personality of a brick wall. They stood there, clipboards clutched in their hands like holy relics, just beyond the twisted, ancient oak tree that marked the edge of my land. That tree, older than the state itself, had been here for generations, its roots firmly planted in the earth, blissfully ignorant of the meticulously maintained lawns around it. But to Karen and her crew, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that I had dared to build something, my beautiful smokehouse, without their approval. And now, apparently, I owed them 10 grand. I glanced at the structure. It wasn't some cheap metal shed. No, it was a work of art, built from field stone and cedar, a labor of love I'd spent months constructing with my own 2 hands. It stood 100 yards from the road, nestled at the back of my acre near the woods, the perfect place to honor my grandfather and his love for slow-cooked meats. It was more than just a smokehouse, it was a tribute to a legacy. But Karen didn't see it that way. She saw a violation, a rogue structure that dared to exist without her stamp of approval. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "I think you're mistaken. You're on my property, and that smokehouse is on my property. It has nothing to do with you or the HOA. She chuckled, mockingly, like I had just told her the sky was green. "Oh, Mr. Miller, your property is part of the Oakwood Preserve community. That makes it our business." And just like that, the gloves came off. She went on to quote Article 7, Section 4 of the Covenants, which, according to her, clearly stated that any outbuilding over 100 square feet required pre-approval. I could feel my jaw tightening, my calm starting to slip. This was about more than a structure. This was about principle. This was about standing my ground, not letting this petty tyrant push me around. "Karen," I said slowly, emphasizing her name, "my property is not part of your association. Never has been. You have no authority here." Her face flushed with anger. "We'll see what the county court has to say about that," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "Your defiance will cost you." I watched as she turned her back on me, her cronies following in line like obedient soldiers. They marched off, leaving me standing there, the bitter taste of my cold coffee lingering in my mouth. This wasn't just a nuisance. It was a declaration of war. As I stood there, the weight of her threat sinking in, a thought bubbled up from deep inside me. They had no idea what they were up against. Karen thought she was dealing with just another homeowner she could bully into submission. What she didn't know was that I had a trump card, one she never saw coming. I had inherited this land from my great-grandfather, Elias Miller, who had staked this claim back in 1903, long before Oakwood Preserve ever existed. The land was mine, free and clear. And I wasn't about to let Karen's HOA, an organization formed less than 2 decades ago, dictate what I could and couldn't do on it. I turned and walked inside, my mind already working. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I sat down at my desk, carefully pulling out the old leather portfolio that had been passed down through generations. Inside, beneath old military medals and faded high school yearbooks, lay the original deed to the land, a land patent issued in 1903 by none other than President Theodore Roosevelt. It wasn't just a deed, it was a piece of American history, a direct grant from the U.S. government. This was my legal weapon. I snapped a photo of the land patent with my phone, then another of the original survey map. My fingers trembled slightly, but not out of fear. Out of anticipation. I had a plan. My first call was to Dave Jensen. Dave and I had been through a lot together. 2 tours in the Army, countless dangerous situations, and a bond forged in fire. After we both got out, he went to law school on the GI Bill and now ran his own successful law practice. He was the kind of guy who didn't take shit from anyone, especially not bullies. I texted him the photo of Karen's letter, and within minutes, he called me back. "Jack," he said, his voice full of excitement, This is the case I've been waiting for. We weren't going to just defend. We were going to counterattack. For the next few days, I followed Dave's advice. I gathered everything, every letter, every email, every document that proved I had no legal obligation to the HOA. And then, we crafted our response. It wasn't just a letter. It was a bombshell, a detailed dissection of their false claims, complete with references to legal precedents and historical documents. We even included the land patent, which, as far as I was concerned, trumped any HOA covenant they could come up with. When the letter went out, I knew it was only a matter of time before Karen and her board would have to face the music. The following week, the HOA sent another letter. This time, a notice of intent to file a lien against my property. They were escalating, but instead of backing down, I leaned in. The moment they filed that lien, they crossed a legal line. And once they did, I was ready to hit them with a lawsuit that would wipe them out. But Karen wasn't done. Her retaliation grew more petty by the day. Missing trash cans, false reports to animal control, even complaints about smoke that had never been made. It was a campaign designed to wear me down. But each act of harassment was another piece of evidence in my favor. I wasn't just fighting for my smokehouse anymore. I was fighting for justice. Then came the call. The board members were cracking. One by one, they began to turn on Karen. And as the pressure mounted, the HOA's lawyer finally called me to negotiate. The first offer was laughable. Just remove the smokehouse and pay a fine, and they'd call it even. But I wasn't about to settle for that. I sent them my terms, a 6-figure payment for damages, legal fees covered, and a public apology. I demanded their resignation and a forensic audit of the HOA's finances. They had no choice but to agree. The settlement came through, and just like that, Karen and her board were gone. The apology was posted on the HOA website for all to see, and the audit began. It wasn't just about my smokehouse anymore. It was about cleaning up the corruption in Oakwood Preserve. The final victory came when I fired up the smoker. My backyard was filled with family, friends, and neighbors, all there to celebrate. As the smoke from the brisket rose into the air, I saw it, the moving van in front of Karen's house. She was leaving, her reign of terror over. She caught my eye from across the yard. For a moment, we just stood there, separated by 100 yards of lawn, a street, and an entire world of difference. I gave her a slow nod, an acknowledgement of what had been and what was now over. She turned away, got into the car, and drove off. And just like that, Oakwood Preserve was free. Justice, I thought to myself, is best served smoked.